All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to my stream. Today is Wednesday. And as you know, this is when I do my AM stream. We're going to be looking at the Nasdaq futures, the micro futures. And we're looking to see if we can find any trade ideas using the Trade Scanner Pro. Now, if you notice here on my screen, let me adjust this a little bit. Yeah, my overlay. You can see here I have a new thing on the bottom, right, which is my Apex affiliate. I am now my affiliate code. I am now an Apex affiliate. This is something that I've been trying to get for a while, and they just accepted me yesterday. So now, if you'd like to support my channel and you sign up for an Apex account, I would appreciate if you use my affiliate code MPM, and I get a small commission for your for your membership with Apex. Now, as you know, before I was an affiliate, I was talking about Apex, right? So obviously it's a product that I use and a product that I like. That's why I don't mind being an affiliate. Now, just real quick, as an affiliate doesn't mean I'm going to tell you that they're the best company in the world to use, right? It's going to depend on your situation primarily, and we'll talk more about this here in a moment. Well, when we check out what's going on in the market, and if there's a slow point, I can talk about more about the pros and cons to using a company like Apex. Obviously, Apex is not the only one out there. Each company has its own opportunities and drawbacks, okay? And Apex also has opportunities and drawbacks. We'll talk about what those are so that you know what you're getting into. All right? So anyway, enough about that. But again, if you'd like to support my channel and show me that, you like my content, do me a favor. If you're going to sign up for a prop firm account and you're going to use Apex, use my code, please. Now, they have an 80% sale. That's why you could save 80%. You don't have to use my code to get the 80% sale. You're just helping me out, okay? But I would appreciate that, and you're supporting my channel. But they have an 80% sale for I think it goes until July 24th, right? And you're getting 80% off the evals, 80% savings for the evals. And so, for example, the 50K account is like $33, right? So that's a good starting point. Plus, they have some other benefits, like you can beat the evaluation in one day and they'll let you through rather than their normal 7-day rule, that type of thing. Okay. So if you're going to do it, I would appreciate it. And again, it's an affiliate link now. But like I said, I'm going to talk to you about the pros and the cons. The big sales to watch for are the 90% sales, but we don't have any of those yet. Those are the best ones, right? But 80% isn't bad. So if you're going to do it, please use my link. Also, I don't know if you could see my updated description. I updated it, but it may not show up until the next stream that I do. But I also put the link in that description as well, along with some other links. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe someone in the chat can let me know. I put the Apex link in the description. I also put my Merlin interview link in the description. I put a few things in there. So if you don't see those links, then you'll see them in the next one. All right. So anyway, but if, like I said, if I'm seeing people signing up to something like that, that's going to incentivize me to stream more, right? So then I'll go back to my 3-day schedule. All right. Anyway, so let's just do a quick update on Bitcoin. Look, Bitcoin looks like it's going to break out, right? Looks like it's this looks very bullish over here. All right. And the long signal on the Trade Scanner Pro has been in play for quite some time, right? So it's nice to have that confidence to back you up. All right. Let me know if you have questions about that. Let's switch this over to MNQ, MNQ1. That's the micro Nasdaq futures. Okay. This here is the daily time frame. And we're going to switch this over here, MNQ1, right? And we're going to switch this over here to the 1-minute time frame. Okay. Oh, look at that. Man, this thing just does not know how to pull back. These markets are just like in mindless mode. They're just like in stupidity mode here. They just don't pull back. All right, we're going to turn these off. We don't need these. All right. Now, so first thing we're going to go through here is we're going to go through the steps that I use to evaluate what side we should be working on with the Trade Scanner Pro. I'm going to make this chart bigger over here. This is my daily chart. So I begin with the daily chart. Now, on the daily chart, I'm not looking at all that previous data. I'm not going back days and weeks, whatever. None of that matters because I'm looking for day trades, right? And I know in advance that I'm working with a 30-second or a 1-minute time frame. I know this in advance. That's very important because that's going to determine what kind of information I use to shape my trade idea, right? So for my daily time frame, for this purpose, I'm only looking at yesterday's low and today's low, right? Those are my support levels for the day. Yesterday's high and today's high, which is the overnight high. Those are my resistance levels. We're obviously through yesterday's high. You see that? So that's actually going to act as a support now. This was yesterday's high. We've blown through it. We're actually, look where we are, okay? And we're just going in a straight line. So, but those are my support and resistance levels. That's step one. Now, step two, I go to my hourly time frame. The hourly time frame helps me get a sense of momentum, right? This is pretty easy. Anyone in the chat want to guess what this is? Bullish or bearish? Okay, I'll answer it for you. It's bullish, right? There's no question. This is bullish. Now, there's that tariff stuff coming out today. I don't know if it's out right now, but sure looks like something is out. Look at that. That's the hourly, okay? I'm going to turn my Trade Scanner Pro on. Now, by the way, if you subscribe to the Trade Scanner Pro, the first thing you have to do is turn on these controls, right? The trailing stop, the show previous trades, and heads up. You have to do that. Look, there's a long trade that's present on the hourly chart, and it's through the profit objective. Interesting, right? Okay. So anyway, I know I'm working on the long side. That's pretty clear. So the analysis is very simple. Looking for longs, and I have my levels. Now, we blew through that first resistance, and look, we're blowing through the second one. We just blew through it. So that is likely to become a support. All right, so very simple. No shorts. I don't need to go into counter trend mode. This is very simple. All I have to do is wait for a long signal. Okay, look, this trend is bullish. All I need are some sort of pullback. Now, when the market's moving like this, I may not see a long signal on my 30-second time frame even. Right? It's very possible I don't see anything. So I may, for this instance, I may have to switch to a 15-second chart. I don't like to do that. That's really not part of my plan. But to get a signal and to make the stream interesting, I may have to do that. Oh, you can't see the thing up here. Okay, hold on. I got to move this. I got to move my overlay here a bit. Okay, so you could see the trend status. Yeah, I got to work on this overlay. Like maybe if I make it bigger, I gotta mess around with this thing to put these things in a convenient spot so you could see everything. All right, that works right there. You could see it right there. Okay, so anyway, if you're watching, feel free to say hello. Be nice to hear from someone. All right, now, so my analysis is done. It's just a matter of waiting for signals now, okay? I'm going to switch this to a 15-second time frame. Hey, Kai, how are you? Good to see you. I'm going to switch this to a 15-second because we're probably not going to see any signals on a 30-second, the way this market's moving. So we'll just put it on a 15-second for now. If a signal pops up, then I'll switch. Maybe I'll switch over to a 30-second. Remember, the 30-second and the 1-minute time frames are part of the trade plan. Like I know that going in. I'm not jumping around time frame to time frame looking for signals. I'm waiting for signals on only those particular time frames. But in certain instances where you get these markets that are going to grind like this, right? I'm not going to see a signal, most likely for a while. So in order to get more frequency of signals, I have to look a little bit lower, like a 15-second. But I don't like 15 seconds. Okay. Okay, no problem. No problem. Well, thanks for joining me during your work. So yeah, these sessions are slow. That's why I stopped doing 3 days a week because like no one watches. But maybe if people are watching and maybe people sign up for my affiliate link, maybe I'll do more streams. Anyway, now, speaking of that, while we're waiting for a signal, I want to take this as an opportunity to talk about this Apex situation now that I'm an affiliate. Like I said before, just because I'm an affiliate, hey, JF from London, Erdia, London, welcome, JF. Whenever I hear from people from London, I use my British accent. It's not a very good British accent, but I try. Erdia from London, welcome. Is it tea time yet in London? I'm joking. I'm joking. Look, you can make fun of Jersey people all day long. New Jersey. That's where I'm streaming from. Okay, not the Isle of Jersey, which is British. New Jersey, which, I don't know why they named it after Jersey. The original Jersey's probably better, though. Anyway, so welcome. So what I was saying about this affiliate situation, so this is a new thing for me, right? But I've been promoting Apex even before I was an affiliate because I'm going to give you my reasoning. Number one, they have the best prices, right? No one is cheaper than them. And as a beginner, cheap is important when you're doing these evals. Now, the other thing I like about them is you can open up 20 accounts, okay? 20 accounts. Now, while it sounds like a great idea, it's not very likely you're going to do that, but the possibility is there. Now, you may say, why would you open 20 accounts? Well, the reason is very simple. You could spread your risk across multiple accounts, and then you just set up a copy trade program, and you trade your main account, and then those trades get copied automatically to your sub accounts, right? And without concentrating all your risk in one account. So, for example, you could make $100 in your one account. And let's say if you have 4 other accounts, that $100 day becomes a $400 day or a $500 day, right? Because you have $100 in your main account plus $100 in your 4 sub accounts, which were copied from your main account, right? So a $500 day is much better than a $100 day. $100 is not very hard to make with the Nasdaq futures, especially if you throw around a mini lot, right? That's only 5 points. 5 points, right? And you're up $100. So you can also lose it just as quickly, but the point is the risk is not concentrated, right? Each account has a $2,500 loss limit. So if you're on your smallest size, it's going to be very hard to blow all those accounts. That's the whole point of it. Anyway, but that's the reason. Other prop firms only allow you 5 accounts. Now, let's talk about the pros and the cons. This is important. I think Apex is appropriate for beginners because they are cheap. And they're, sometimes they have 90% coupons. Right now they're running an 80% sale, but sometimes they have 90% sales, which is even better. That's only $16.33 for a 50K account. That's where you want to play with this, right? Now, why it's good for beginners is because it lets you build confidence in your system and throw around size without risking any real money. Like, so you blow $16 if you blow your account. Who cares, right? Like if you can't handle losing $16 and you got other problems that you got to deal with, right? $16 is like the price of a cocktail, right? Here in New York. That's like an average price. So, so that's the good thing about using Apex for beginners. You build confidence in your system. You have to have a system, something like I'm showing you here with the Trade Scanner Pro, that you can rely on and be 100% confident that you can beat the eval. So you want to test out with the possibility of a payout, right? So that's why they're good in that sense, because it's cheap and you may blow through a few accounts. That's okay, because it allows you to trade size, where otherwise you cannot trade size. You cannot trade size with a regular futures account. Like if you opened up your own and you put in $2,500 or whatever, $3,000, that would only allow you to trade 1 micro lot on most brokers. Some brokers have special deals where they have day trade margin, where they give you some more flexibility. But something like Interactive Brokers, for example, it's $3,000 or almost $3,000 for margin requirements for 1 micro lot. Forget mini lots, okay? One micro lot, which means you can't even trade two unless you have 6 grand in your account, minimum, something like that. It's ridiculous, right? Anyway, so the prop firm solves that problem by allowing you all the margin you want for very, very small amounts of money. So if you blow your $2,500 prop account, you're blowing $16 or whatever, right? So that's ideal for a beginner while you're testing your system and developing your confidence, right? Now, that's the pro. Let me tell you about the con. Now, or the drawback, because again, every prop firm has their opportunities and their drawbacks. The drawbacks to Apex, which a lot of these fake gurus, because I watched quite a few of them, they don't talk about, is Apex is really a two-step prop firm. They advertise themselves as a one-step prop firm, right? Okay, you beat the eval, and then you get what's called a performance account. The performance account is the account that you're likely to get paid out on, but it has a lot of obstacles, right? This is the drawback part. So first you got to pay the setup fee, which is $140, which you could say is the real cost of the evaluation. Why? Because you got to do the evaluation again. So after you beat the first evaluation, which in this case here, I'm using an Apex account, okay? You can see here, right? My TradeEvade account, the Apex account, that's what this is. I've been using this now for 3 months. Before I was an affiliate. The profit objective is $3,000, right? And I'm trying to do this in a slow, sustainable way, which is not optimal for these type of accounts. But my point is this: when I beat this account and I reach the $3,000 objective, I now have to pay a fee, $140 or $85 monthly. Now, why would someone do that? I'll explain in a minute. But you could pay just $140 one time, and now you're in the performance account phase, which means you have to make another $2,500 in that account plus 100, so $2,600 before you can see a payout. Okay, so basically you have to beat the evaluation again, but this time you can't be as aggressive if you start putting more money into it, like $140. Now, if you blow that account, you're blowing $140 and you got to start all over again. That's the drawback. Okay. So it's important to understand the first step, which is the phase I'm in here. This is where you could be highly aggressive, meaning size. So the only thing that should separate your strategy between the two accounts is your sizing. So in this account here, right, like I'm showing you here, this is the account where we could be more aggressive. Because if I blow it, I'm blowing, $16 or I'm blowing $30. Okay, no problem. But if this was the performance account, that's where I have to be more conservative with the sizing, which means your system has to be sound and you have to have a lot of confidence in it. If you've done a few of these evals, right, where you've blown a few accounts, and then you're not you haven't built up the confidence, or the system may need some tweaks first, right? That's why you want to do that on these cheap accounts or just paper trade. If you're blowing account, like if you blow through like 10 of these accounts or something like that, then you probably should go back to paper trade and get, make $3,000 on a paper trade account as fairly as possible before going back here and putting money into these. Does that make sense? So that's how you should use that. So if you're a beginner and, like using the Trade Scanner Pro, for example, we got a heads up, by the way, that's where you want to test it out and try to build up your confidence. Apex is a good place to start. Now, other prop firms, there are some prop firms that go straight to payout, meaning there's no evaluation phase, right? You just pay an amount of money and then you can request payouts. But the cost of those is ridiculous, right? They're typically around $400, right? So you pay $400. This is not Apex. This is other prop firms. You pay $400, and then you have to basically do things within their rules, and they put a lot of rules because they don't want to pay out. And then if you do things in their rules, there's no evaluation phase. You just request payouts, but they get their money up front. They get $400. I would not recommend those type of prop firms until you've proven yourself on a cheaper one like this one. I plan to get affiliate relationships with those too. Those I would say are for more experienced traders that have confidence in their system and they know what they're dealing with. Okay, look, we got a signal. This is on the 15-second time frame. Now, as you guys know, I don't take the initial signal. I use this as a heads up, right? That's how I'm doing this in this type of environment. Now, I'm going to start with a larger position here. I'm going to start with 2 micro lots, right? Compared to 1. And then if I'm right, I'm going to put on like 3 or something like that, right? I'll add to it. Now, I'm not taking this setup or this, remember, I'm using this as a heads up, right? I'm using the order suggestions as a heads up. So for those of you that watch me regularly, what do I do next? Do you guys know? This looks nice, but I'm not jumping into this, right? In this environment, because this has been a pretty tough environment. Now this may run straight to the profit objective. It's very possible. It may run away with, and I'm going to miss it. That's okay. Ooh, that was nice. 10 o'clock. That's the 10 o'clock candle. Man, that went straight to the profit objective. Man, that's going to happen. How come I'm waiting? Can anyone tell me? Why do I not take the initial signal? Right? The initial signal is the order suggestions, right? This is the initial signal. Man, this thing is just running away. Man, that would have been a nice trade. But that's going to happen using this technique. Who can tell me? Anyone? Probably after that prop firm spiel, everyone's probably asleep. Or they're like, I'm not watching this guy. He's talking about prop firms the whole time. So the reason why I don't take this initially, especially on a 15-second time frame, is because I'm looking for the secondary entry, which means a retest of the blue line or some kind of retest inside of the risk area, this risk gap right here. I want to see like a retest of that area followed by some type of candlestick reversal. That's what I want to see, right? And then I'll begin my position and then start putting on more. This, when it goes straight through like this, I'm going to miss these. But I'd rather miss these because it doesn't cost me anything. Okay, cool. Yeah, JF, correct. I'm waiting for, instead of jumping into the initial signal, which can be very problematic, especially on these small time frames, like a 15-second time frame, I would rather see the signal pop up, which are these lines, and then I want to see a retest of the blue line, right? Either pull back to it and reverse, or we go below it, we don't stop out, and then we reverse. That's ideal. That's how I'm using this as a filter. In more aggressive environments where there's momentum, I mean, you want to do this, just take the signal, right? But this environment in recent weeks has been very hard. So that's why I introduced this filter. Now, if the environment changes and we get like a wild environment or a higher momentum environment, then you can go back to taking the straight signal, right? So, man, that would have been nice. Or another thing you could do is you could just take 1 micro lot on the initial signal, and then if it pulls back and fools around and gives you the secondary signal, you add to it then. What I was doing was I was just basically using the signal as a heads up. Okay? Look at the trailing stop. So this signal is going to stay on the chart until the trailing stop is touched. Okay? So this filter that I'm describing here is actually very good, especially for larger time frames, like a 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute, because a lot of times you'll pull up a chart and the signal will have been, or the signal will have been present for quite some time, and you missed the initial signal. But there are usually re-entry opportunities where it's retesting the blue line, or it's gone below the blue line and it goes back above, right? It goes into this area and pops back above. You'll see that a lot, like on a 5-minute or a 15-minute, and that gives you another opportunity to enter with your risk defined and everything. And for those situations, candlesticks are the best things to use for your confirmations. How many points is your risk on the trade? So that's a good question. It's a very good question, JF. This is my risk right here. The Trade Scanner Pro tells me what that is right here. That's my risk right there. Okay, so if you want to know how many points that is from the blue line, which is my, I guess you could say my initial entry, in this case, it's 12 points about, or a little over 11 points, which is nothing. That's a very small time frame, right? That's the risk on this time frame. On the Nasdaq, 11 points is not, that's 10, like just over 12 points. That's nothing. That's like nothing. But that's going to change. See, trailing stop was touched, trade is off, right? So now maybe we'll get another signal. That's going to change based on the price action. Now, let's take a look at, let's go back to our 30-second. Is there anything on the 30-second? Nothing here on the 30-second. Okay. The risk on the 30-second is going to be a little bit higher. The larger the time frame, the greater the risk gap. That risk is based on the average true range, by the way. That's what it's calculated from. So that's defined. That's one of the nice things about the Trade Scanner Pro. It's defined right there. It tells you exactly where you should be getting out. If you're wrong, that's where you put your hard stop. Or if you want to bang it out manually, you could do that too. It's a good idea to put a hard stop in. I would highly recommend a hard stop. And that's where you put it. And then you have the trailing stop, which keeps you in the trade longer if possible, right? And in this case, the trailing stop got touched and the trade vanished, right? We have a heads up for another trade signal here. That's what these green columns are. So we could think of this as a pre-heads up. And now maybe the second trade will give me an entry opportunity. I'm not going to jump in on the initial signal. I'm sticking to the filter rule, right? You got to keep things consistent. Just because it worked nicely the first time doesn't mean it's going to work again. This is generally a hard environment. All right. So anyway, good question. If you have any other questions about the Trade Scanner Pro, JF, please let me know. You can also watch previous streams. I know no one watches them, but there's a lot of examples of great trades and some trades I lose. Okay, here we go. Second signal. Now, let's see if I get a re-entry opportunity on this one. I might not. Maybe this runs straight to the thing, to the profit objective too. That's possible. I'm not willing to take that chance. Or actually what I could do is I could take one contract, one micro lot on the initial. It's running away. Forget it. I'm not gonna do it now in the middle. I'm not gonna take, all right, maybe I get my re-entry here. Okay. A retest of the blue line. That's what I'm looking for. Now you guys can't see, I have my order buttons up here. In fact, I'm gonna use the order book. I'm gonna use so you can actually see it better. Okay, look, we're back below the blue line. That's what I want to see. Right? Now I'm preparing to buy one. Let's see if I get a reversal back above the blue line. Actually, I'm going to buy two initially. I'm going to buy two. So I set it up for two. I'm looking for a candlestick reversal. See, this is what I mean. Back below the blue line. This is what I'm looking for. Now I'm looking for a candlestick reversal. Okay, something like that, but it's got to close. If we go back above the blue line, okay, I'm going to buy this. I bought two. You can see the order pop up behind me. You see that? All right. Now, if this trade can get itself going, I may add two more. Meaning we pop strongly above that blue line, or maybe we go a little bit lower. Now, if we go to the stop, I bang it out. Maybe we go lower and then we try to attempt to reverse again. I'll add on that. If not, if it goes straight to the stop, I bang it out. You got to respect the stop. It's very important to respect the stop. Because I mean, look, this market's bullish, but you get this noise, and it may do this a few times before the signal runs again. You see what I mean? So let's see. Now this is, if I had not, this would be ideal if I was flat. Okay, I got to bang this out. Hold on. Yeah, banging it out. All right, so I got out of those two, but I'm going to get right back in if I see another signal. I tried and the thing completely failed. Okay, so even with the filter, it can mess you up. Now, or I mean, not mess you up. This can happen. Now we may get another signal here. I got the heads up. Let's see how much that cost me. $44. That's nothing. Okay, 44. So what was that? It's 10 points I lost there. Okay, there's a signal. Now I'm going to take one initially. Oh, actually, no, I'll wait. I'd like to take one on the, all right, I'm going to take one. just one instead of two. And then on any because this market's a little wild today. Now on any pullback, I'll add. Okay. Now the risk on that trade again is not very high. How much is that? It's about, 12, 13 points. That's not a lot. Okay. A few months ago, we were looking at like on 1 minute charts, we were looking at 150 points of risk, which is ridiculous, right? 12 points of risk. That's not a lot. All right. Now maybe I'll get an opportunity to add. If this thing goes straight to the stop, I bang it out, but I only have one. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if I get the opportunity to add. We almost retouched the blue line. Ideally, I'd like to go below the blue line and then go back above it. If we go back above that red candle like this, I'm going to add. There we go. Like that. Like that. Right? Ooh, what time is it? Is it 10:30? No. Okay. The candles on a 15-second time frame are going to be very dramatic. Okay? They're going to be very dramatic at times. So when you see like a big candle spike like that, it doesn't really mean much. Okay. Now, if we could break above that consolidation, I'm going to add one. Okay. So now I have three. I'm being more aggressive with my sizing here, much more aggressive than usual. I'm still using micro lots. I'm not using mini lots. So if I'm wrong, I'm looking at losing maybe $150 or something like that, right? And if I'm right, I'm making something like that maybe. If I really want to be aggressive, I could put on mini lots, which is 10. That would be 10 micro lots at a time. That's when that's when you're talking about blowing the account, right? Or being very aggressive. Now, think about this. On this account, I can trade up to 10 mini lots, which is 100 micro lots. I could put 100 micro lots on right now, and they'll let me do it, right? Because they're happy to, because I can blow the account. It goes 15 points against me, the account's blown, right? You don't need to do that, right? You could do it with five. The way to beat these eval accounts very quickly, especially on these the initial phase, what you want to do ideally is put on a position like 5 mini lots, make 20 points 2 times, and you're done. You're there. You're over $3,000 at that point, right? And that takes you to the second step. The second step, though, is where you do not want to do that. The second step, you want to be more sustainable with your size, because if you're wrong, you're going to blow that setup fee, which is $140. That can becoming expensive. You blow a few of those, now you're losing money, right? So that's why you have to have a system that you're confident with, and you're just going to lower the size. You're going to trade the same system with lower size. That's all. You're not going to be as aggressive with the size. All right. If we get to that profit objective, I'm going to start selling. Almost there. Can we touch it? Can we touch it? Or is this thing going to make me look bad like it likes to do? Like we're almost there and then it blows me out. It likes to do that. Come on, man. This market's strong. You want to be strong. Don't give me red candles that look like that. Come on, man. I got to talk to the market. Trailing stop has advanced a bit. Look at the trailing stop. It's cut my risk in half. See this? My risk now is half of what it was. So now you're looking at what, 6 points? That's like if I lose 6 points, that's like a win. And I just might lose that 6 points. Hey, how are you? Oh, I'm glad you liked the interview. You're probably the only person that watched it. Okay, here we go. Profit objective. I touched it for a second. I sold one. I'm trying to get out now, right? Trying to lock in profits. Come on, man. You couldn't go above that? If it touches the trailing stop, I'm going to have to bang it out as well. So let me prepare to bang out too. You can see what I'm doing here on the order book. I'm just all I'm doing is pressing the market order buttons. I'm not even using limit orders. In fact, I could use a limit order. 23,104. I'll put a limit order there for one contract. 101. I'll put it up here. I put a see the limit order I put up there. I don't know if we'll get up there, but if we do, I have a limit order to bang it out. Now this market's too busy pulling back. Hey, maybe it'll give me another opportunity to buy back more, buy back in. I sold one only, so I still have two. Maybe I'll get a bounce off the blue line or something. If it touches the trailing stop, I'm going to have to follow my rules and bang it out. So let me prepare to bang it out. I have two lots in there. Okay, two micro lots. If we get some like a strong green candle taking out this section right here, like that, kind of like that, I'm going to add. All right, I'm going to add. Remember, I'm being very aggressive here. I just put on two. If we get up to the profit objective, I'm going to sell. Again, you have to be very, very active with a 15-second time frame. How many do I have on? I think I have three. No, I have four. All right, let's prepare to bang out. Prepare to bang out. You have to be very, very active. It's not easy, okay? And this thing's constantly changing. That's not easy, dealing with all this noise. So you may say, well, that's too complicated for me. Okay, I understand. I'm just showing you a demonstration here. For most people, I would recommend like a 5-minute chart. It's not so erratic like this. You know, a 15-minute chart. Basically, you do the same thing that I'm doing here. It's spread out over much longer periods of time. So instead of doing this minute to minute or second to second like I'm doing and watching every little change and reacting to every little change, you know, you're watching this over a span of hours, maybe even days, where you have opportunities to re-enter, opportunities to take profit, those kind of things, right? Instead of minute to minute. It's much more feasible. The thing is, when you're dealing with the larger time frames, though, it's not feasible for a prop firm. Just so you know, most prop firms like Apex, for example, does not allow overnights. So you can't trade larger time frames, right? They purposely want you to stay. They say for risk purpose, that's nonsense. That's not, it's for their risk because overnights win. If you win on an overnight, it's a big win and it's costly for them. They don't want people with overnights because you could really gamble big. You know, you take an overnight with some size and the Nasdaq's up 100 points the next day, you're going to be up thousands of dollars and they're going to be like, we got to pay this out now. So they don't allow overnights. Some prop firms do allow overnights, but Apex is not one of them. Okay, man, this thing is not cooperating. It's just gyrating around though. This is really not doing anything. I'm gonna have to respect the trailing stop. I'm going to respect it. I could turn the trailing stop off if I want to, and just use the main stop. But I'm not going to turn it off. If it touches it, I'm just going to bang it out. It's like right there. Now, if we get some massive green going back up, I'll add. Again, I'll add. If we don't get that massive green, so notice I'm trying to add to the position when it's going my way. I don't add to it when it's going against me. Like right now, it's going against me. I'm probably going to have to bang this out. I'm preparing to bang it. There we go. All right, get out. So I'm out. Now, we may see another signal here. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to start with one. And then I'll build on it if I see the signal. Let's see, what does this look like? Minus $116. All right. That sucks, but you know, if I'm right on one of these trades, I'm going to make that back pretty quickly. That's the deal with these things, man. That's how it works. It's hard. Notice there's a signal. Okay, so I'm going to start with one micro lot. Okay, in case it goes nuts. If it doesn't go nuts and I lose, I'm losing 10 points. Okay, that's an acceptable risk on one micro lot. That's $20. So I don't mind. Like it lets you sit through this and be like, who cares? But if it gives you an opportunity to add, you can add to it, right? So maybe it gives me that opportunity. Let's see. If we go back above the blue line, I'll add, but this time I'm going to add 2. Right? So basically, if I'm wrong, I'm trying to be wrong on small size, or if I lose small. But if I'm right, I'm going to be right on larger size. See, that's what I mean about it. This 15-second time frame is an enormous pain. You see what I mean? It's a very erratic time frame. That's why I don't like to trade it. Now let's see if we could go back above that blue line. I'll add. I'm going to add 2. And if we don't, it's trying, but I want to see a solid candle above that blue line. It's 10:30 yet? Yeah, it's after 10:30. Okay. My 1 minute is giving me a heads up. See the green line on the 1 minute? Okay. I'm going to add. We going back up to the blue line. I just bought. Can you see that? You can see the order behind me. Okay. See the order? You can see it. Okay. Now I have 3. So I'm gonna bang these out. If it goes to the stop, like it's trying to do. Okay, this isn't working. 10 points. All right, out. I'm not messing around with this. All right, so I've been trying to be a little more aggressive here, as you can see. And it's costing me money. It's $178. All right. That's what you have to do to play this game aggressively. Now, I'm thinking about switching this back to the 30-second. Let's take a look. What does the 30-second look like? Okay, I'm going to wait for a signal on the 30-second. Maybe I should just do that. The 15-second is costing me too much money. And also, again, I'm playing it more aggressively than usual. I'm trying to be more aggressive with this account. Look at that move right there. Okay. Remember, the trend in this market hasn't changed, right? This trend is bullish. So at some point, the trend is going to resume, and I want to be in it when that happens. There's a signal. So I'm going to start with 1. If it goes straight to the stop, if it goes straight there, then what I'm going to do is then I'm going to start filtering after that. Okay. I took off the filtering, meaning I'm taking the initial signal because this market is generally strong. But like, see what I mean? This is the whole point of having the filter, is this, so that you avoid this. That's a nice sweep. Can I use a trade scanner pro? Of course. In fact, it's better, JR. I recommend that it's better on larger time frames. You know, these small time frames, they're hard. As you can see, they're very erratic. You're going to get stopped out a lot, as you can see what I'm going through here. Like, again, I'm going to filter. So if I get stopped out here, I'm not going to take the next one. I'm going to filter it, right? Meaning I'm not going to take the initial signal. What I'm doing here is I'm only taking 1 contract on the initial signal, so that if I'm wrong, I lose a little bit of money and it sucks, right? Just 1. But if I'm right, or I have the opportunity to add, then I'll add to it. Because, you know, this thing is consolidating right now. Yeah, you see A is calling it a sweep. You're getting into the ICT terminology there, A. Turning into an ICT guy. All right, so I just got that one got stopped out. But look, we're getting these green lines all over the place. So we're likely to see another signal, right? So I'm not going to bang this out so quickly. I'm going to try. I only have 1 micro lot, right? And if it starts to really break here, I'll get out of it, right? So this is a little bit of a rule bend, but it's 1 micro lot. So it's not like I have a large position, and I'm not going to add to it. What I want to see is another signal. We keep getting these heads up, which means a signal is likely to pop up in the next 3 to 5 candles. We're pulling back into a support area. You see the blue line on my chart here. That's what that blue line is. So if we get another signal pop up, which we're likely to see, then I have 1 lot on, a micro lot, and then I'll consider, I'm not going to add on the initial signal. All right, I'm going to have to bang this out. This thing is just sucking here. How much is this against me? 25 points. 25. Oh, wait a minute. I have 3 on. I must have pressed the wrong button. I don't ever know it was. Oh, yeah. There's a signal. ICT. All that sweep stuff and all that those are ICT. I mean, if Merlin talks about that, I thought maybe you were getting that from the Merlin interview. He's an ICT guy. You know, he used ICT for his foundation, which, you know, it works for some people. But, you know, ICT is nothing but a cult. It really, all the guy does is he has all these fancy words for things like support and resistance, right? He has fancy words for support and resistance. You could just call it support and resistance. But the reason why they like to use fancy words is because it sounds like you're learning something. It sounds more valuable than it is. It adds value to the whole thing. That's what it is. He basically ripped off Larry Williams, okay? And he's using he changed Larry Williams concepts. He changed the words, and then he calls it ICT. In fact, ICT, which means Inner Circle Trader, was the name of the program that he took, which was conducted by Larry Williams. Okay, now Larry Williams is a real trader. All right, not only is he a real trader, but he's like the original cowboy. He's like the trader that all the legendary guys back in the day looked up to. Larry Williams, you could Google him. He's still around doing stuff, but he's the original cowboy. You know, he's the original, like, take size and ride that bull. Like he's like the original guy. And so ICT ripped him off basically. I told Larry. I had an opportunity to meet him back in January, and I told him, because he had no idea. I said, you know, you started a cult. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, there's this cult on YouTube called ICT. I said, are you familiar with Inner Circle Trader? He's like, yeah, it's a program I started years in the 90s. I said, yeah, well, it's a cult now. And he was like, what? Okay, look at this. Back up a blue line, okay? Now, let's see here. I may add one here. Where is my break-even price on this? 23, what is that? 083? I'm at 77, okay. I'm gonna add one. All right, so I have 4. Now, what I'm doing here is very aggressive. I'm trying to play this account aggressively. Instead of being all, look, now we got a signal on the 1 minute. That's nice to see. I'm very happy to see that. Okay, but I took the signal based on the 15-second. The one nice thing about the 1 minute is it gives me a much greater profit objective. Let me move this out of the way. Look at the profit objective up here. Can you see that? Yeah, you guys can see that. The profit objective is at 104, where my 15-second profit objective is at 23,089. Kai says, but selling dreams is the main business in retail. Yes, that's Kai. That's no lack of respect. What you're saying there is the truth. That's what this business is based on, right? Selling dreams. Now, and that's one of the reasons why I'm very unpopular, because as you can see on my channel, I don't sell dreams. I show reality, and reality sucks. Okay? I don't have a Ferrari behind me. Man, speaking about sucking, this trade sucks too. This I'm going to have to bang out. Man, I tried a few times. The market's not cooperating. Make sure I have the right size in there. Now, if this were to reverse here, this would be ideal to add to. Now, look, all right, so that stopped out, but look at my 1 minute. I may have to bang this out, though. I'm not going to sit around in this thing. I could use my 1 minute risk, which is going to be greater, but it looks like it's going straight for it. Is this thing going to give me a break or no? No, yeah, it's going to be a break. All right, I'm banging it out. I'm out. I'm not sitting around. I'm not going to stick around here. All right, so I tried a few times here. We're going into the 10:30 candle. All right, let's see how bad the account is. 379. All right. So I tried a few times. I was pretty aggressive. Yeah, I tried a few times. Blew $379 on this eval account. But here's the thing with this eval account. I gotta do something with it. Like, I gotta either blow the account, okay, or I gotta make money with it, right? This thing, let's see what's going on with the bigger picture here. This market's just breaking. Okay, so we broke some minor supports. Let's check the hourly to see if there's anything changing on the hourly. So it looks like we're generally rejecting the resistance from the hourly. You see that? This was the resistance. We're rejecting it. All right, no problem. So this momentum is, while this candle is bearish, and there's bearish momentum present, on this candle. I'm going to go back to the 30-second. What to do in this situation when you have a confirmation of bearish momentum? Remember, that's not the same as the trend. The general trend is still bullish, but we have this bearish momentum situation. Okay, see that? So when you're dealing with the Trade Scanner Pro, the trend on these time frames is still bullish also. What to do? What to do in this situation? I'm not going to start shorting this. That would be a bad idea because I'm going against the trend, right? What you do is, in this situation, you simply wait. You wait for what? You wait for this structure to change. See, this is the structure right now. That structure is made up of lower highs and lower lows, right? Got me long a few times, and I blew a bunch of money trying to buy into that, and it failed. Okay, when it does that, any long signals that I see now, I'm going to completely ignore, right? Until what I want to see, for me to start taking long signals again, we need to break above the structure. This is the structure right here. That's on a 30-second time frame. You could use the 1 minute as well, okay? This is the structure. You see that? That's the structure. That structure needs to change. So what that means is I need to see minor resistances broken, and I need to see higher lows and higher highs. That's what I need to see. This is a lower high and a lower low, isn't it? Is it not? So as long as it keeps producing that, I stay away. I don't care if I get signals, I stay away. Pay attention to the structure. This is very important. Stay away if you're looking for longs. I'm not going to short it because, again, at some point this is going to reverse and the structure is going to change unless it breaks a major support. Major support, I mean, we'd have to break this at least, right? Though that's yesterday's high. Like the real supports for the day are over here. Also, we can take a look at the opening range. Let's go to the 30-minute chart. And we can see the opening range, which also gives us an idea, right? It's a good thing you got to respect the stops. Otherwise you get caught in something like this. So is this 9:30? So this right here, that's the opening range, right? The opening range candle. See that? We broke above it briefly and we rejected up there, and we're basically going inside the opening range. The opening range low is over here. That could serve as a support level. So we want to be aware of it. The price may find support there. So that may be a good place for what? The structure to change. Okay? The structure can change. So when the market does this, when it changes its structure from bullish to bearish like this is very hard because, especially when you're using a Trade Scanner Pro type of tool, it's looking for trends, right? Essentially, that's what it's doing. It's looking for a pullback in the trend. When the trend changes, you're going to lose money. And that's what you saw here, right? I tried a few times and I tried aggressively. Normally, I try conservatively with micro lots and I don't take the initial signal. But I tried a couple of those today. As you can see, it put me minus 379. There's no reason for me to continue, right? But I'm showing you how hard this is. But yeah, like Kai was saying here, the guys that do really well on YouTube are the guys with the Ferrari behind them, right? They got the nice car behind them, and they're sitting there, and they're taking they know they're taking random trades. And when the trades work out, they throw a big party and they show a nice house, and they're making money from mostly affiliate links a lot of times, or selling training programs. That's where they make their money. But it's very easy to fool people. And even though that technique is such an old marketing technique, it still works, and it works really well. Okay? It works really well. That's why I question half the time, why do I even do this? Because I am not engaging in this strategy to really benefit myself, which would be go rent a Ferrari, put the Ferrari behind me here so that you guys think I make millions of dollars as a trader, which I don't, but you're going to think I do because I have a Ferrari behind me, right? And then you're going to buy my Trade Scanner Pro like crazy. That's how you make money in this business. Okay? A lot of money. So I'm trying to find that balance in between where I can show reality, bring you value, and teach you how to really navigate these markets effectively so that you could see a better performance over time and not be sucked into these ridiculous dreams. But, I can't change human nature. So I just have to be authentic and do what I can. And maybe one day people will recognize my value. I know all you guys do. Most of the people that come to my stream are repetitive. Kai has been following me for years, right? So some people recognize my value, but most people don't want to hear it. Most people want to see, oh, you just made $10,000 in one trade. Right. I could make $10,000 in a trade if I put on 10 mini lots and I'm right. I would have blown my account here in this situation because I was wrong a bunch of times, right? But that's what happens when the market changes. So again, you might think, well, then start shorting this thing. This thing is a very risky short. The easier thing to do is wait for the structure to change, right? Even if a signal pops up now. Now, the Trade Scanner Pro, if you noticed, changed. It says trend is bearish because it's looking at the bearish momentum. So right now, at this moment, on the 30-second time frame, it's looking for shorts. I'm not interested in shorts. Remember, your analysis carries more weight. I'm not interested in shorts. So I would have to switch to counter trend mode if I want longs. I'm not going to do that. The easier thing to do is let this thing become a long again. Wait for it to become a long. This is what you have to deal with when you're dealing with 15-second or 30-second time frames. It's hard. Okay. Hey, Hussein, how are you? Yeah, it's been a while. I thought you stopped liking me. I thought you had enough of me, like all the other people. Good to see you. Hope all is well. Just showing people how I lose money today. So busy. Okay, cool. Anyway, so you guys follow me so far? So do you see like what the solution is here in this situation? It's a lot of it is waiting. In this case now, if I want to go long, which my analysis said long, then I need to wait for the structure to change. If I was super aggressive, sure, I could start looking for shorts, but you better believe that this is just a pullback on the bigger picture, right? And at some point, especially at the opening range low, let's put that back on the chart here. We're likely to see, look, we're almost there, right? We're likely to see a reversal. We're at the opening range low right now. This is the opening range low. See that? So if this is going to reverse, it's likely to happen around here somewhere. So should I be going short right now into that? It's a high risk idea, right? So no, I'm not going to go short into that. I would there's a couple of ways to go about it. If you're more advanced, you could switch to counter trend mode. Look, I'll show you that. I'm not going to take any trades, but counter trend mode, and now it's looking for longs. So if you get the reversal, right, you're going to get a long reversal because it's looking for the counter trend move, which in this case would be bullish. I have to do that in order to find longs. When my trend is bearish, it says in my trend status, it says trend is bearish, but I'm looking for longs because my analysis says longs. That's complicated and it's confusing. That's why I don't like to talk about it, because I want to gear the stream toward beginners. If you're a more advanced trader, then you can consider something like that. Like someone like Kai or Hussein or even A, they've been watching me for a while, so they understand that. But if you're like brand new, it's confusing and it's not intuitive. That's why it helps to watch my previous streams. I plan to repurpose those lessons into shorter, like 10-minute lessons so that people will watch them. But I haven't done it yet. But that's how I plan to build my channel, by developing a backlog of repurposed streams where there's valuable lessons. So it cuts right to the valuable lesson, and you don't have to sit there and watch an hour-long stream, which I understand. Why would you want to watch an hour-long stream, which is me just talking gibberish the whole time? I understand. So I got to make those more repurposed videos. See how we're rejecting the opening range low? See that? We're rejecting it. See that? That's why it's a bad idea for shorts. So, again, this is a tough game, especially when you're working on these very small time frames. It's very hard. And these prop firms know that. That's how they make money, blowing accounts. If I was throwing around size today, like real size, this account would be blown. Now, like I said, I have to make some progress on this account one way or the other. So I got to start throwing around bigger size. So as you can see, I was throwing around 3 micro lots, 4 micro lots. In the larger scheme of things, that's not really big size. Big size is like 4 mini lots. That's size. That's account blowing size. But if I'm right, I'll reach the eval, I'll beat the eval faster, the first step of the eval. All right, makes sense, you guys? So again, as a quick reminder, if you want to support my channel now, I am now an Apex affiliate, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. You can see the code on the bottom of my screen here. If you use my code, I get a small compensation for whatever the payment that you make, and you help to support my channel. That incentivizes me to continue with these streams and stream more frequently, because I've pulled back on the frequency, right? I'm only streaming at this time on Wednesdays now, as opposed to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because no one watches my streams and my numbers don't grow. I know why that's the case. It's not just I'm a bad streamer. I understand why. So I'm working on it, right? And it's going to take me some time to build my channel where it'll lead to a higher stream count. But the people that are here, I appreciate very much, So again, but if you want to support the channel, and I see people signing up for the Apex thing, great. I'm not going to make a ton of money off of it, but it shows that people are interested and they want to support the channel, and that incentivizes me to stream more frequently. All right, just wanted to mention that. All right, you guys. So I'm an hour into this now. If you have any questions, you guys know where to find me. Do me a favor, try out the Trade Scanner Pro. You have 14-day free trial. You can cancel it before the 14 days. You won't get billed. And if you're going to do it, make sure you follow my streams. I have a link in the description for like a brief tutorial that I had done a while back. I'm going to be updating that and doing more detailed tutorials, especially with the analysis portion and the when to use counter trend portion, and also the filter that I introduced here, waiting for the pullback after the signal, that kind of thing, right? I'm gonna make videos specific to those techniques. That the video just talks just about that. So it's not like an hour long and you have to sift through an hour or watch my video, and scan through it for that part. Like, I'm gonna make it much more consumable. Okay, you guys. So anyway, check that out. Let me know if you have any questions. Other than that, I hope you're enjoying your summer. Markets are usually harder during the summer because of lower volume, things like that. And we have all this drama with the tariffs, which also makes this market harder. So, I plan to come out with some more instructional videos as well, besides the Trade Scanner Pro, other concepts and things that you should be very familiar with, especially if you want to trade like this, where you're basically taking these very small time frame day trades, which is really the only way to deal with these prop firms most of the time. It's going to be hard to swing trade with them, although there are some that will let you do it, meaning taking overnights. All right. So I'll leave you with that. You guys know where to find me. I'll be streaming again on Monday during my analysis stream. I'm not streaming on Friday. I will be streaming on Monday. So enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you so much for watching.